Hey everybody, Jason Say here with Field Days. And if you followed us, you saw that we did 7 episodes in the spring, and they were all spring related topics. Everything from spraying and mowing those spring food plots, planting spring food plots, all things spring related. Well, now here we are, and this is all about fall related topics. So we got 7 shows and podcasts coming your way. This is the very first one of the fall edition. And this one is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and we're gonna get in depth and talk about this. This is something that so many guys overlook. The number one reason why I see food plots fail, and it is very simple. It is all about taking soil samples and doing it the right way. Today's show is all about soil samples, and I get tons of emails and calls from guys all across the country. They'll say, hey, my food plot didn't grow. I'm not sure, what might have happened, things like that. Well, the first question out of my mouth is, did you take a soil sample? And I can tell you this, about 95% of the time, when I ask a guy that and his food plot failed, the answer is no. And all the time I see it, I run some Facebook groups, Food Plots for Whitetail, as well as Food Plots with Whitetail Institute. And you'll see guys all the time say, I didn't have time to get my soil sample. What lime and fertilizer should I spread on my clover plot? Well, I've kind of always questioned that, because you have time to go in and lime and fertilize. You have time to go in and spray and kill that plot. You have time to go in and disc that plot or till that plot or whatever you're going to do. You have time to seed that plot. You have time to do all the things, which adds up to hours and hours of time you put in your food plots. But you didn't have 10 minutes to go take a soil sample. And I know there's, maybe the occasional exception to the rule where a guy legitimately had a reason, but I'm betting 95% of the time you had time, you just didn't see it as important enough. And what I tell guys, it is the most important thing that you can possibly do. And when you do a new plot, I'll tell you, there's some sticker shock a lot of times. When you do a brand new plot that hasn't been planted before and it comes back and it's a 1/4 acre plot and it's calling for 5 tons of lime, that's a little bit of sticker shock in the beginning. But what I've found over the years, taking a soil sample, that $13 you spend on a Whitetail Institute soil sample kit, is going to save you money. It's gonna save you money. Listen, I'm gonna say that again. It's gonna save you money, because a lot of you guys are getting general recommendations, and your results and your soil sample maybe call for, 0, 46, 0, or 0, 0, 60, and you're putting 10, 10, 10 down. Well, you are wasting your money. You're wasting your money on fertilizer that you don't need. You're wasting hundreds, thousands of dollars by not knowing what your soil actually needs. And I try and hammer that into guys' heads, that $13, which I think guys, which always blows me away, that they spend all this money on lime and fertilizer and seed, but they don't want to spend the $13 on a soil sample kit. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get into, and I think hopefully I've stressed enough and you see how serious I am about soil samples. We're gonna get in and we're gonna show you the proper way to take a soil sample. It's really, really easy. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about the different things in the Whitetail Institute soil sample kit, as well as the results that you receive from the lab. Okay, let's talk a little bit now about the Whitetail Institute soil sample kit. And we'll talk about, there's 2 different things in here. The first thing being, we're gonna show you how to do this, but is your soil sample bag. This is what your dirt, your soil is gonna go in. You'll see there's some information to fill out there, and we'll talk to you more specifically about where to fill that, what needs to go in it, all that good stuff. But you're gonna get a soil sample bag, and you're going to get this form to fill out. And on this form, it has your name, your address, your email address. We want to tell everybody, if you put your email address down, you will get your results back usually within 24 hours after the lab receives your soil samples. So that is a great feature, especially if you're in a time crunch. It's gonna ask you if the field is an existing field or if it's a new field. And the one thing I wanna hit on that I love the most about the Whitetail Institute soil sample kits, and they make it idiot proof, when I do a food plot, I usually know what I want to plant in that food plot the next year. So on Whitetail Institute's form, you can actually check the products that you want to plant. So this particular plot, I'll usually put down, I'm thinking about Pure Attraction next year, and I like to put a perennial down, as well as I might split it and plant a perennial. I'll put clover, Imperial Clover. So I'll check those 2. When I get the results back, those results are going to tell me exactly what lime and fertilizer I need based on my soil sample results for that particular product. So you have a Pure Attraction, which is some brassicas and forage oats, and you have Imperial Clover, which is, clover, which are two very different needs. They're gonna have very different, soil sample and lime needs. So it is very specific on what exactly you need to do for each one. So that, for me, I encourage guys. I talk to new guys all the time, and there are lots of different laboratories out there that do this, from college laboratories and things like that. But what I see a lot of new guys do is that, they'll send it into their local college and they get the results back. And it's like, okay, how do I read this? They got these results, but what does that mean that they need to put on for their Pure Attraction or their brassicas or this? And it's really hard for them to determine without getting a lot of help on how to decipher that soil sample results. So Whitetail Institute soil sample kits make that super, super easy. And that's one of the biggest things. I've used them for years, and I love the fact that I can get it. I know exactly what lime and fertilizer I need to put in the ground. So that's what comes in the kit. So we're gonna go through now, and we're gonna show you how to properly take a soil sample, then how to send those results into the lab. Okay, let's talk about the proper way to take a soil sample now. So what we're gonna do, it's very simple. I need two pieces of equipment. I got a shovel and a bucket here. You can use a spade. A lot of guys like to use a spade, doesn't really matter. What we are gonna do is we're gonna walk this plot, but before I get to that, I should stress, you wanna use one soil sample kit per plot. I know a lot of guys say, oh, well, I have this plot, and 400 yards away I have another plot, so that soil's gotta be about the same, so I'll just use one soil sample kit. That's not how it works. You use one individual soil sample kit per plot. What we're gonna do here, this is a relatively small plot. It's about 1/8 of an acre. So if it's a bigger plot, you wanna take more samples. So between 10 to 20 samples, all in different locations throughout the plot, to get a good representation of that food plot itself. We're gonna walk this plot, and we're gonna dig maybe 3 to 6 inches down. You wanna get the grasses and weeds just below the surface. You wanna be maybe 3 to 6 inches down. Like I said before, I'm gonna take about 10 different samples in this plot. We're gonna put it all in a bucket. We're gonna stir it up very thoroughly, get it good and stirred up so we have a good representation. Put it in the soil sample bag, fill it to the fill line, and we're ready to ship it in. Okay, so we showed you how to properly take a soil sample. Now what you need to do, we're almost ready to send it in, but we need to fill out the form. I talked about this before. What you have on here, you're gonna have your name and address. You're gonna have whether this is an existing field or a new plot, and that's important for the lab to know. Put down your email address if you have an email, get the results within 24 hours. You wanna check what you're planting in that plot. Real simple to fill out. You fill out those basic things. You're going to box this up with these forms. I like to take a rubber band and rubber band each of my forms to my actual bag, put them in a box and ship them to the lab. Like I said, you put that email address, you should have the results back within 24 hours. Okay, so we talked to you about, first of all, why it's important to do soil samples, then secondly, how to properly do a soil sample. So you've done all the steps, you've taken the first step in being successful planting food plots, you've sent those soil samples into the lab, and now you're waiting to get those lab results back. When you get those lab results back, some of the biggest questions we receive, as we mentioned here on these soil sample kits, you can put specifically what you want to plant, whether it's, Fusion or Pure Attraction or beets and greens, whatever it is, you can mark it, and you're gonna get soil sample recommendations. And you're going to get specific fertilizer combinations. So for instance, you might see you're planting Pure Attraction and you need, it says 100 pounds per acre of 20-20-20. And you need 50 pounds per acre of 0-46-0. And what I have a lot of times is guys absolutely freak out because they'll go to their local fertilizer place and they don't have this. So like I said in the beginning, let's say that fertilizer recommendation in the first one was 100 pounds of 20-20-20 per acre. Well, maybe your fertilizer place has 10-10-10. Well, what you need then is double the amount. So what I want guys to understand is when you get these recommendations back for fertilizer combinations, it is not an exact science. What you want to do is get as close as you possibly can. So, your co-op guy, they're going to understand fertilizer and say, okay, we don't have this, but we have this, and it gets you pretty close. So I just want to stress to guys that, food plot is not an exact science. So your goal is once you get these recommendations back, to get it as close as you possibly can. You may have questions on lime and fertilizer. There's all different things as far as Pell lime and ag lime and which lime you're gonna use and the amounts and things like that. And we're gonna be doing a podcast that we get in depth talking about the soil sample results when they come back, helping you to understand the different lime needs, the different levels of the fertilizer, the organic matter, all those kinds of things. So make sure you don't miss that podcast. We're gonna be with Dr. Carol Johnson, super knowledgeable, gonna take us through everything in those soil sample results to help you understand. We wanna thank you all for joining us on Field Days.